Sorry, I was just playing a little bit of Little Big Planet there. Don't even ask me why, cause I think you know why. Just look at the characters in Little Big Planet, and then look at the characters in 9. I mean, they're even small in a big world, like. The Sack Boys and the Stitch Punks, they look identical. And I was playing on a PS Vita, by the way. Just joking, this thing has been broken for 10 years now. I bricked it. But that's only one of the comparisons I could make. I know you're here because I said that 9 is more terrifying than Coraline. And I'll get into that, just let me cook, okay? I have other comparisons I want to get off my chest. But first, let's look at the team behind 9. It was produced by Tim Burton, who also produced The Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach, which were directed by Henry Selick, and Henry Selick is the guy who directed Coraline. Those two guys make very similar movies and they do a great job at kids horror, so in a way 9 actually relates back to Coraline. Elijah Wood plays 9 in this movie. He's best known for playing Frodo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings, which I haven't even seen or read. I know, crucify me. But he also voices the adorable little penguin Mumble in Happy Feet. Both Mumble and 9 are such gentle, kind-hearted little animated creatures. Seems like there's a bit of a trend here. This guy Elijah really excels at playing such innocent, soft-spoken roles. I suppose he just has the perfect voice for it. And that's probably one of the reasons I grew so attached to him in the movie and genuinely cared about his life. Let's continue with the comparisons for a little while, shall we? It reminds me of a horror action version of the game Little Nightmares. I don't know if you can consider that game an action game, but it's horror anyway. There are all of these creatures who roam and you're a tiny person and you have to avoid them. Just like 9. And it also reminds me of War of the Worlds. Now I know what you're thinking, not that shit movie that came out earlier this year with Ice Cube. The actually good one from 2005 with Tom Cruise. And just like in 9, the world in that is dominated by killer creatures. I know they're aliens, but they actually seem like robots. I don't know why, just when I think back to War of the Worlds I just think of robots. And in that movie they have to survive during humanity's fall, just like 9. But 9 is just so much more compelling and emotional. The Stitch Punks, who are those little ragdoll guys who resemble the Sack Boys from Little Big Planet, as I already mentioned, but let's stop talking about that, are just so delicate and emotional that you just care about their lives the whole way through the movie. And in the likes of the War of the Worlds, the characters are just humans. Now, nothing against humans or anything. Not that their lives aren't worth saving. But we've just seen them die in so many movies that we're just desensitized to it at this point. When I watch one of the Stitch Punks die in 9, it's like watching a dog die, you know? Enough of all of that, let's get into the comparison that I said I'd be focusing on and I promised I'd focus on. 9 is way more terrifying than Coraline. That's a bold claim coming from me, but I saw both as a kid and 9 definitely left the biggest mark on me. It bloody traumatized me. I just realised when I was holding the PS Vita up to the camera, you can see my guitar. It's a lovely guitar, isn't it? I wish it was on this wall, but it's not, because it would be nice as a design. But let's talk about Coraline. Coraline centres on an 11-year-old girl whose name is Coraline. She moves into a new house with her mother and her father, and they give her no attention whatsoever because they're just busy people. And because of this, Coraline has so much time on her hands that she discovers a hidden door in the house. She goes through and she discovers an alternate version of her own world with parents that closely resemble her own parents. And at first, she prefers this world to her own world. But her mother turns into a horrifying creature, tries to keep her there forever, and tries to replace her eyes with button eyes. She's not having this at all, so she fights for her life and tries to make it back to her original life with her original parents. Okay, yes, Coraline petrified the living daylights out of me as a child, and yes, it has left an indelible mark on me to this day, even as an adult. But so has 9, and to a much larger degree. I had both 9 and Coraline on a hard drive as a kid when they came out. They were actually both released in 2009, which is kinda crazy. What a time to be alive for kids' horror movies, you know. 9 was the scariest kids movie of 2009. Fight me. But what's even crazier is that 9 came out on the 9th of the 9th, 2009. Now that is absolutely genius marketing right there. Anyways, this and Coraline were my favourite movies on that hard drive and definitely paved the way for my horror appreciation. Especially 9, because I think that's probably the movie that got me interested in post-apocalyptic movies. And now that's my favourite genre. It's crazy to think of the effect that being exposed to something in your childhood has on you later in your life. Anyways, the horror of 9 comes from this little group of ragdoll guys called Stitch Punks being hunted and keeping themselves out of danger, trying to survive and retain their lives in a world of war. Whereas the horror in Coraline comes from only one girl and her parents being in danger of the other parents on the other side. Many lives are at stake in 9, even if they're not human, whereas there's only a few at stake in Coraline. I'll tell you one thing, 9 had a lot of deaths and even more jump scares. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any characters that we really care for die during the runtime of Coraline. 9 does an amazing job at making you feel for these Stitch Punks as if they were real people. We literally get a haunting vision of humanity's end in 9, which is something that almost makes Coraline feel comfortable. It's about the death of everything, not just one child and her parents. Coraline is about escaping a single evil being, the other mother. It's scary, I know, but there's still hope in it, and there's a home for the girl to go back to. But it's fucking diabolical how low this movie is rated compared to Coraline. I think they should be rated the They're both unreal movies. Anyways, this is Stop the Lights, so if you want to, go ahead and switch off your lights, because we're about to get into something creepy today. So have I seen 9? Yes, I watched 9 when I was 9. But did I remember it before preparing for this video? Enough talking rubbish, because I've probably already bored you to death doing that, and let's refresh ourselves on this bloody gorgeous movie. The movie opens up with an old scientist stitching together a rag doll by the name of 9. As I think I've already mentioned before, the name for these little guys in the movie is Stitch Punks, which I'll refer to them from now on by. In the scientist's narration, he basically explains how the misuse of technology has caused the world to end and how disappointing that is. And that's exactly why he created the Stitch Punks, to continue life in some way. 9 awakens and picks up an important device called the talisman, and we'll find out why it's important later on in the movie. He's surprised to see the scientist dead on the floor after having created him. I'd be surprised too, and I am surprised, because this scientist has been supposedly dead for a large number of years and his body has not been decomposed. It has to have been over 10 years. Anyways, 9 discovers that he's little in a big planet and that planet in question has gone to shit. He thinks he has encountered an enemy, but instead batters this poor fella across the head. His name is 2. I feel bad for this little guy. He was literally just going for a late night stroll and he gets clattered across the head. It's a good job that he has that glass covering his face, because he'd be knocked out otherwise. But there's no hard feelings from him. He just tells 9 that he's his friend. 9 signals to 2 that he can't speak, so 2 tunes in his voice for him, the same way you tune a radio.
Wait a minute!
So I'm just editing this video now and listening back to the audio at this point of the video, and it sounds like my voice is getting lost as well. I'd say 2 could do with tuning mine too. So that mic I was using just broke. I had to do a quick switch up and now I'm using this tiny thing. So basically I was talking to myself for ages. And now I have to do it all again. That baby thing on the ground is frightening. I bet you haven't seen something as creepy as that in the first 5 minutes of Coraline. But if you think that's creepy, you have no idea what's coming next. 9 gives 2 the talisman and he's delighted to see it. But that delight turns to fear when this happens. He's jump scared by a machine that many call the cat beast. You can't tell me that's not frightening. Already at the very beginning of the movie, we have a jump scare. I told you it gets right into the action and the eeriness, and I meant it. 2 sacrifices his life to save 9, and the cat beast runs off with 2 and the talisman in his mouth. That was absolutely beautiful. Now usually in movies, sacrificing your own life for others happens at the end of the movie, but not in this one. After seeing 9 pass out, 5 takes him into his home to tend to his wounds. 9 insists that they go on a mission to save 2, but 1, who's the leader of this group of stitch punks, basically says that that's impossible and he must be dead already. 1 explains how the world ended. Basically there was a war between humans and machines and the shit hit the fan for the humans. None of the humans survived and the machines used gas to wipe them all out. 5 and 9 climb the watchtower, look through the telescope and spot the exact place that 2 was taken by the machine. 9 asks 5 to come along with them to save 2. At first he's so skeptical about it and so by the book, but he changes his mind and off they go on their rescue mission. I already know this is going to be a dangerous journey and there will be a lot of obstacles along the way. The machines.
The beast.
Yep. And they have to go through a pitch black bloody cave as well. This can't be good news, but at least they have a light. Inside they find 2, seemingly dead but not dead. Phew.
I knew you would come.
When I rewatched this to prepare for this video, I was actually gutted. After seeing the extent to which 9 and 5 went to find 2 and save his life, and then seeing that he's dead would be absolutely depressing. But that didn't happen, thankfully. The film does a great job at keeping you on the edge of your seat and making you feel a sense of unease, especially in situations like this. The cat beast almost places the talisman into this socket, but he gets distracted. 7 comes to the rescue, and this is her first appearance. She's got some moves, I'll tell you that. She can fight. Well, these 2 couldn't fight if it was to save the world from ending. Oh yeah, the world is ending. I told you she could bloody fight. The other 2 couldn't even put a scratch on him. Remember when the cat beast tried to put the talisman into the socket just a moment ago? Yeah. 9 must not have seen that, because if he did, he'd know it was a bad idea.
What are you doing?
He pops it into the socket, and... that is absolutely heartbreaking. We thought that 2 had been saved, but then he's just dead moments later. I remember seeing this as a kid and crying at this scene. I used to think I was a right silly bastard of a child to cry at an animation, but now looking back to it, it actually made sense to cry. Watching these tiny little creatures that have the same expressive souls that we do die, and seeing how the other little guys react to their deaths is genuinely unsettling. And I mean, what a way to go out. You don't see beloved, likeable characters dying like that in Coraline, do you? Sure, yeah, it's creepy and dangerous, but we don't lose the characters that we become attached to. The closest thing to that in Coraline would be when the ghost children tell Coraline that they were trapped and killed by the other mother. But we don't actually visually see them dying, and that's my point. Because of what 9 has done, he's literally awakened the king of all machines. Big mistake there, buddy. Many people refer to this guy as Brain, because he can control all the other machines. And yet another one of those scenes right here that has you preaching for the lives of the Stitch Punks, hoping that they'll survive. I was on the edge of my seat there, so much so that when I was writing this script I typed in this by accident. Apparently my keyboard had a panic attack as well. They managed to escape. I just feel so bad for 9, man. He just got a little bit curious. Little did he know he just tanked everything. And many more lives are at stake because of him. The only other thing I can think of that resembles this machine is GLaDOS from Portal 2.
We both said a lot of things that you're going to regret. But I think we can put our differences behind us.
That thing gave me many sleepless nights, especially the ending scene. It freaked me out. And the same goes for Brain and 9. But there are actually more terrifying machines than that on the way. We meet the...
Twins.
3 and 4 for the first time. 9 draws the shape of the talisman and 5 notices that 6 draws the same exact thing all the time. He wants to go back to see the drawings, but 7 objects because she doesn't agree with 1. They go anyways and it doesn't go as planned. They get a lecture from 1 about how they should not have awakened Brain. Then they get into a fight with 1, and then they all get into a fight with the machine. Come on, you stupid machine, could you not have let them finish their fight before you go starting another? This machine is what many call the winged beast. 7 comes to the rescue. Yippee, they're all saved. Or not.
Let me try that again.
Alrighty then. I was under the impression that she was the best fighter in this entire group.
The cable! Got it!
Jeez, 9 is the smartest person in this situation. That's a change. He's actually learning to defend himself now. I suppose he probably just feels a deep sense of atonement due to his mistake awakening the beast. 9 tells 1 to get rid of his cape because that's what the winged beast is clinging onto. The monster dies, and all 1 has to say is, "You owe me a cape." What a stuck up prick, man. 9 had the heart to help him out, and he doesn't appreciate it one bit. He tries to remain an alpha male, even though this was him just a second ago, clinging on to 9 like a gay lover. As revenge for 9 destroying the winged beast, Brain takes 2's dead body with evil intent. He plans to reanimate him as a weapon. Now here comes the part that scared the actual shit out of me as a kid. It's so well done. The lifelessness captured in him is just unreal. Now even that's scarier than the other mother in Coraline. Even just the sound effects of 2 making his way up to 1 just makes me feel uneasy. The creature is using a dead Stitch Punk to lure and trap the other Stitch Punks. 1 gets hypnotized by the reanimated version of 2. He's no longer in control. Okay, that's definitely creepier than the other mother. What even is that? It looks like an evil clown mixed with a little girl or something. But somehow it manages to be absolutely terrifying. Many people call this machine the Seamstress. Ha! The Seamstress. Do I seem stressed to you? Excuse my shitty puns. That thing is terrifying. I can only imagine what it felt like when I was a kid looking at it. 8 appears to get captured by the Seamstress. And then 7 is also taken. A little funeral happens for 2. And then the rest of the Stitch Punks go on another rescue mission. This time 2 lives are to be saved. 9 decides to leave the group by himself. He goes to Brain's hideout, and he literally witnesses Brain pulling 8's soul out of his body, and killing him in the process. 9 manages to kill the most terrifying machine of them all, and save 7. And that terrifying machine was the Seamstress. Well, that's that done anyways. No extreme nightmares from us from this point on. Although I can't promise you no more nightmares at all. The group light a barrel on fire and roll it into Brain's hideout, blowing the entire place up with him inside. How the hell did one barrel cause all that ruckus? That's my question. I don't think you're getting away that easily. Something just doesn't feel right here. They celebrate by playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow on an old record player that was just lying down on the ground outside. I can't play that song here, so I'll just give you some jazz instead. I hope that's okay with you. I myself love jazz. I told you something felt off, and I can't convey to you how unsettling it feels when I see this scene. I don't know if it's the same for you. I saw it a million times as a kid, and even twice while preparing for this video. 3 times now because I'm watching it again right now. And even when I was writing this script and watching the scene back, my heart sank. I guarantee most people thought that was the end of the nightmare, but it wasn't. And now 5 is dead. It's so depressing to see, because he was so delighted that this was all over and didn't expect this to happen at all. Before getting killed, 6 urges the group to go back to the first room. That's the room that 9 woke up in with the scientist dead on the floor, to find the source. How many characters is that just died now? Give me a second. Okay, so that's 5 characters that died and there are only 4 left. Jeez! I did not think there were that many. This film is not afraid of killing off its characters at all. 9 doesn't want to kill Brain, the machine, because he believes that the souls of the 5 Stitch Punks that just died are all contained inside him and trapped. The group disagrees, so 9 decides to just go back to the first room by himself and gather all the tools and knowledge that he needs to release their souls. Back there, he finds a video from the scientist that created the Stitch Punks. He mentioned that when he also created Brain, he had no ill intentions, but it lacked human soul. That's why he created the Stitch Punks. Each Stitch Punk is a piece of his soul. That means that the scientist is the source that they have been looking for this whole time.
They all died because of me. I started this, and now I need to finish it.
9 runs to sacrifice himself with the intention of stopping the machine this way. Instead, 1 gets in the way and sacrifices himself rather than 9. This is a continuation of his belief that in order to save others, 1 must be sacrificed. This is actually taking it quite literally, because 1, the character, was sacrificed.
1 must be sacrificed.
This is 9's chance to run and grab the talisman from Brain. This destroys the machine for good. He puts down the talisman and releases their souls. They ascend into the sky and become free of all pain.
What happens next?
I'm not sure, but this world is ours now.
And that's the end of the movie right there. Something quite funny but also random that I noticed is that the movie ends at 1 hour and 9 minutes. I also mentioned earlier that the movie was released on the 9th of the 9th, 2009. The scientist's soul was split into 9 parts. In the beginning there was a church clock and its time was stuck on 9:09. There are 9 Stitch Punks and the movie is called 9. There's so many sneaky 9s hidden in it. So that was 9 anyways. I've tried to convince some of you that it's more terrifying than Coraline, but of course, many of you may disagree. I'll stand by that statement though. There's just so many heart-wrenching moments in 9 that they outweigh the small amount of ones that are shown in Coraline. Even as an adult, I get disappointed when I see one of the deaths of the characters. And when I look at them dying, I have the same facial expression that their friends have when they watch them die in the movie. There's a lot of sacrificing lives in 9 and we lose more than half the characters. If we were to recreate Coraline, the equivalent of that would be to kill her parents, but leave Coraline alive. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but I'll leave it up to you to decide your own equivalent in the comments. So many moments were so well done in the movie, especially this one, where Somewhere Over the Rainbow was playing and the monster was rising at the same time. And I told you already I can't play that song due to copyright reasons, so I put a different track over it. All the characters were having such a good time until they realised they're not. The syncopation between the music and the nightmare that's unfolding is madness. And then seeing 5 dying just breaks your heart. But the creepiest scene and machine for me has to be the Seamstress. Just look at that face and tell me it doesn't freak you out. And then the fact that it's using 2's dead body to lure them in as well. I don't know what I find creepier, the dead body or the Seamstress machine. The biggest thing to take away from this is that 9 traumatized me more than Coraline did as a kid. And I can imagine that may be the case for some of you as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments how you would compare 9 to Coraline. And I'd be interested in hearing if you have any recommendations of movies similar to 9 and Coraline as well. Preferably obscure ones, because I'd say that I probably have all the mainstream ones on the list already. Thanks for watching and good luck, lads.